So the evidence is very strong now. JFK knew a great deal about the presence of others here on planet Earth. I say this because I give credence to a particular memo that's leaked, come out dealing with Marilyn Monroe shortly before her death. A CIA memo that talked about Marilyn Monroe at various Hollywood parties, talking to Dorothy Kilgallen, and in her anger at being thrown overboard by the Kennedy brothers, which she had been, talking quietly about some of the pillow talk she had with JFK, including his seeing beings from outer space at a remote facility. And all of that was written about in an alleged CIA memo. There's actually been some very good work done on that memo that, to my satisfaction, indicates that that's authentic. I think it's real.
So there were intimations that there was some kind of a weird space program connection to the assassination. But Lee Oswald himself, according to at least one eyewitness, said that Lee was considering getting a job at NASA, and for some reason turned it down. Why would Lee have turned down a job at NASA when he's working out the Texas School Book Depository, stacking boxes? So there's something very fishy about that, which lends further credence to the idea that Lee was not who we said he was, and not what he seemed to be.
Come on, then, residents.
No, they're taking me in because of the fact that I lived in the Soviet Union. I'm just a patsy.
President.
But there's another connection between the JFK assassination and the space program. In the late 1960s, an odd document began to circulate among the people investigating the murder of the president. It was called the Torbit document.
In the 1960s, there was a samizdat, a mimeograph document that was circulated called the Torbit document. And it was allegedly written by a Texas lawyer in the late 60s who used the pseudonym of Torbit. What the Torbit document went on about at length was the Kennedy assassination and its connections to NASA and Wernher von Braun. The Torbit document maintained that Wernher von Braun commanded a special team called DISC, the Defense Industrial Security Command. And DISC was run out of Redstone Arsenal in Alabama. And what a lot of people don't realize is the early space program was really all in Alabama. It wasn't in Houston. That was until later that they moved things to Houston. And the Torbit document maintained that because of the elements of the space program and with Wernher von Braun, that DISC was somehow involved in the Kennedy assassination and coordinate people from NASA and other parts of the military and CIA, and then with Lyndon Johnson having control of the Dallas police force and things like that. So the Torbit document really is an oddball document about the Kennedy assassination because it gives a slightly different slant on it, which brings in the military and NASA, the missions to the moon. I got a book from NASA that was about Wernher von Braun, and it was all these photos of him and his life in NASA. And Johnson and Kennedy had gone to Redstone Arsenal and met with Wernher von Braun in the early 60s when Kennedy had announced we were going to space. And according to this book, they had some huge argument together, and von Braun and Kennedy and Johnson all had this big argument about how we were going to go to the moon, what the mission would be all about, what the American people would get to see, all that kind of stuff. And apparently, it was Kennedy arguing for different technology, a more overt space program, one that would apparently be quite different than what we were actually told. And von Braun and Johnson were completely against it, and at that point, in a sense, Kennedy's fate was perhaps sealed.
The real story of what happened in Dallas, Texas on November 22nd, 1963 will probably never be known in its totality, but we can see from this new evidence that President John F. Kennedy was well aware of the technological advances achieved by the Germans. He worked with James Forrestal, and very likely knew everything that Forrestal knew. He must have known that getting to the moon with advanced anti-gravity technology was the best and easiest way to accomplish that task. It appears that forces were at work that did not want that technology
Dr. Vannevar
known
Bush
to the
is on the
public.
list